children. And this is why I selected the topic. That's my husband and my stepdaughter, and they will never eat vegetables. I've done every trick in the book. I know all the tricks that you might use on your kids if you have any, and I cannot convince them. So I decided to go into the research and see if evidence can help me. So this is what I did for my first rotation. I was at schools in the Columbus district, and I taught a program called the Live It program. So I would go, I had 4 classes, I would teach them twice a week, nutrition, and then they would have a physical activity lesson every week. So probably similar to what you do. You go into schools and do, education. So this is actually the grade 6th grade is when it's the most, they can understand it the most and apply it the best. So it's kind of the age that we want to target for nutrition education. And this also got me excited because the kids were super excited. At first they were like, we don't want to learn nutrition, but then as they learned, they were really excited and their diets started changing. They were teaching their parents to eat vegetables. So that's why I was excited about this. Does anyone in here think they know what the leading source of vegetables in a child's diet is? And it's 28%.
Potatoes?
Pizza sauce. They do count that as a vegetable in some schools. Not that I support it. So it's not including potatoes, just straight French fries. They didn't even count potatoes in that. Almost a third of a child's vegetable intake, French fries. So we know that diets rich in vegetables are preventative against chronic diseases, so cardiovascular disease, cancer. And then the research also shows that only 21% of kids are consuming the 5 servings of fruits and vegetables. So there's a big discrepancy there. 5% of kids are getting a protected diet, which isn't what we want. We want much higher. And then, as I said before, you want to target 6th grade because the eating habits established in childhood track into adulthood. So probably for many of us, it might be harder as you get older to change your diet. For kids, it's easier and then change as we go and have it track into adulthood. These are ways that as we go through the research that they attempted to correct the issue or see if it would work to increase vegetable intake. So curriculum, it's similar to the Live It program. We'll get into that. Garden program, so they actually have gardening in schools. I don't know if anyone's been in a school where they've seen gardening. I haven't, but the kids will learn and do gardening activities. Repeated exposure, reward. So the reward is a sticker. In our case, you'll see as we go on. And then pairing it with a desirable food. So the first study was a garden-based pilot intervention to increase vegetable and fruit intake in preschoolers. They wanted to see if they could pair a garden program and a curriculum program and compare the both together versus no intervention and see if that would increase fruit and vegetable consumption in the kids. So it's a randomized control trial with a positive quality rating. They had 4 child care centers licensed. They had to supply all the food and drinks to the kids. So it couldn't be a child care center where the parents were allowed to bring in cold lunch to the kids, just so they could control the environment. No abuse or neglect for obvious reasons. And then each center had to have at least 3 kids between 3 and 5. So it's a smaller study because you only have 4 schools, and each school only needs at least 3. They could have more. We'll see if this works. This is the program that they use, Watch Me Grow. It's just going to give a little...
We're starting off with things like cherry tomatoes and cucumbers and melons, things that are milder and tend to be a little sweeter. The ones that we selected for the program are selected because they're fairly easy for a gardener to grow. We wanted them to have success. We want this to be everything good, for them.
Wow! Yeah, so you gotta wait till autumn tomatoes get that color. When I was young, I ain't had no idea about gardening until I turned like 14, 15 years old. And it has been a real, a good learning experience. So to teach them at a young age is a real good to actually do.
classroom, they'll have activities that are related to the cucumbers. They have books about cucumbers and things like that. We do want them to engage all of their senses. So we have kind of academic things, if you will, in the classroom. So they hear about it, and of course they taste it, and they smell it, and they touch it.
All right, come on. We gotta let the other group water.
We are planning to do the Watch Me Grow program in 25 centers, and we'll be comparing it to 25 centers that don't get it. Because we really are trying to see, yes, this is fun, this is cool, but does it make a difference in how many fruits and vegetables the children eat?
Yes, I am, baby. I love kids, so just...
Okay. So that is the program they use, Watch Me Grow. They were randomized into two groups. So two classes, or two child care centers were the intervention group. They got that Watch Me Grow program with the gardening. And then two were the control, and they got nothing. So they had 3 students from each center get a pre-consumption measurement and a post-consumption measurement. These were measured by a dietitian who was blinded to the experiment, and they could have been different kids. So it was completely random. It could have been 3 kids and then 3 different kids. It could have been the same kids pre and post consumption. They did the Watch Me Grow curriculum. So their target vegetables and fruit were lettuce, strawberries, spinach, and broccoli. And like they said in the video, they did little activities that correlated with their target vegetables. So I got this book for my niece. It's the broccoli book. And so they would go out in the garden, they'd play with the broccoli, plant the broccoli, eat the broccoli, touch it, and then they would do like books like this. I can pass it around. In the end, the kids eat the broccoli. So they had health educators visit the school and teach the school. So it wasn't the teachers. It's kind of like that Live It program. I came from Columbus Hospital, and I went and taught at the school. So it's not the teachers of the schools. So we see the initial intake is in green and the final intake is in yellow. So right here is our intervention. They got the garden and the curriculum. We have an increase because the sample size was so small. We couldn't conclude significance in this study. The control group had a decrease. And the surprising thing, this is just vegetable consumption. Surprising thing is that vegetable servings from the school decreased. So even though the school ended up serving less vegetables, the kids still ended up consuming more. So strengths, they paired education with gardening. Most studies will look at, we're going to put a garden at this school, we're going to put education at this school. So this compared both of them to nothing. The teachers were educated by an outside source. So they were taught how to respond to the kids during each, if the kid was going to eat the vegetables, if they passed on it, they could learn the proper response for the kids. Weaknesses, small sample size. As I said, there's no statistical significance. It wasn't clear which activities have the greatest impact. So was it the broccoli book that had the impact, or the tasting the broccoli? Was it the song or the touching the carrots? You don't really know. And it's expensive. So if you think about it, most of the schools that are going to need to increase vegetable intake is probably urban areas. Are they going to have all this fertile soil in their yard? Are they going to have somebody who's going to come and care for the garden? So it is a more expensive intervention. So drawing on the conclusions from study 1, gardening interventions paired with the curriculum increases vegetable intake. It did decrease fruit intake, and they think that might just be because one of the targets, only one of them was fruit and the other 3 were vegetables. That was their guess. So I recommend it for private schools and schools with outside funding. It might not be realistic for public schools or all public schools. The second study is parent-administered exposure to increase children's vegetable acceptance. So they tested the effectiveness of mailed instructions. So the parents just got a booklet mailed to them with the instructions on taste exposure to increase vegetable acceptance. Again, focus on the preschool age for this one. Randomized control trial with a positive quality rating. So families with 3 to 4-year-old children from the Gemini study, so the Gemini study is all twins. It's a cohort of England and Wales, only twins. 2,321 got the information, do you want to participate in this study? 1,006 said yes, that would be interesting. 472 gave the data sheet, so that means our sample size is 472. They were randomized, half of you get the male intervention, half of you get nothing, you're the control group. So the kids were offered 14 different tastes on 14 different days, and they got a reward sticker if they complied. So if they did consume those vegetables, they got a reward sticker. The packet had instructions, so you're going to cut the fruit or the vegetable into 6 equal-sized pieces. You're going to not encourage, and you're going to respond neutrally if they refuse, and then you're going to let them grab as many pieces as they want. That's pretty much what the mailed-in instructions said. If your child eats the vegetables, you're going to give them a sticker, and then you're going to record their progress. So just mailed instructions again. So here we have 2 graphs. They're going to look very similar, so just notice this is intake of the target vegetables. This is in pieces, so 1 piece, 2 piece, 3, 4, etc. Time 1 and time 2 are both baseline. So what the kids are consuming before any intervention. The solid line is the intervention group, dotted line is control. So we see at baseline 1 and 2, the intervention group eats less of the target vegetable. The target vegetable is just a vegetable that the parents decided neither twin liked. So they're eating less of the target vegetable. After the intervention, so the garden or the mailed-in instructions, you have a significant increase here, no significant increase in the control. So the intervention, after the mailed instructions, significant increase in vegetable intake. This is showing us pretty much the same thing, except it's liking of the vegetable. So the parents would rank it on a scale of 0 to 9. How much did the child like the vegetable? Again, we have the intervention at baseline, liking it less than the control. After the intervention, significant increase in the intervention group, no significant increase in the control. So the strength is very easy to teach the parents these techniques, just cut the vegetable off, keep offering it for 14 days. It's very inexpensive, you're just sending mailed instructions. They could probably do it on a computer program and not have to pay anything. Weakness, the parents were not blinded. Obviously, it'd be impossible for the study to have any blinding. And the conditions weren't very strict. So we don't know, were the parents listening to the intervention instructions well? Were they doing it kind of at their own pace, etc.? So drawing on the conclusions of study 2, mailed instructions for parent-administered repeated exposure is effective for increasing vegetable intake in children. So, I saw nobody took the vegetables upstairs. Is this true? None of you? Spring, did you take the vegetables because it was paired with a desirable food such as the dip or peanut butter? Yeah? Yeah. So, Spring probably wouldn't have taken the vegetables if there was no desirable food paired. Thank you, Spring. You helped this slide succeed. So, study 3, increasing vegetable intake in Mexican American youth. The purpose was to see if pairing vegetables with a desirable food, so in this study it was peanut butter, will increase vegetable consumption in children. Maybe because you're all adults is why you didn't take the vegetables. It's a randomized controlled trial with a positive quality rating. We have 78 Mexican American middle school age children. So, it's at a charter school in Houston, Texas. They were 11 to 13 years old, so that's around that 6th grade age I was talking about with the Live It program, best age to target the kids, and it's children of any weight. And the reason I say that, these kids were also in a weight loss intervention at this school, which was a separate experiment, but all the kids were getting the same nutrition, same information, same exercise, so they assumed that would not affect this study. They were randomized into 2 classrooms, so it's the same school, 2 classrooms. One was intervention, one was control, and both classes had 3 different vegetables served in 1 ounce serving bags. So it was carrots, broccoli, and celery. So in both classrooms, it was kind of a vegetable day weekly for 4 months, where they would get 1 ounce servings of these vegetables. They could take as many baggies as they wanted. They could just keep going on taking more. Peanut butter, 3/4 ounce packets, which is the same size we have upstairs. They could take also, the intervention group was the only group that had the peanut butter in their classroom. They could take as much peanut butter as they wanted, but they would have to ask for more. Whereas with the vegetables, they could just walk up and grab it. So here we have ounces, vegetable intake, paired, so it's paired with the peanut butter. Control classroom, no pairing with the peanut butter. So their initial intake is here, significant increase in the group that was offered the peanut butter. The control group is here, actually a significant decrease in the group that wasn't given the peanut butter. So it's an affordable intervention, parents find peanut butter one of the cheapest foods, or ranch, or there was a study where they did Brussels sprouts and cream cheese, so just a desirable food paired. It's a realistic intervention, easy to be administered, not as much like the gardening program where they have to keep up this garden for a long period of time. There was no follow-up assessment to see how their vegetable consumption would be without peanut butter. The good thing though is with the children who were eating the peanut butter, in their whole day there was no macronutrient or calorie difference. So although they're eating more calories with the peanut butter, it compensates throughout the rest of the day. And another weakness is it's self-reported at baseline. So I showed you here, we have baseline here, that's self-reported by the kids. Baseline here is self-reported by the kids. So drawing on conclusions from study 3, pairing vegetables with a desirable food, such as peanut butter, increases vegetable consumption, and it increased variety, so the kids had more of a variety, broccoli, carrots, and celery. So relevance, why did I do this? If we look here, food service, a lot of schools are starting to kind of follow the reward system. So in the mailed intervention, they gave the kids stickers. Food service, they're kind of trying to go, some schools have tested giving them stickers or pencils if they're taking more vegetables. That's an option. Community nutrition, so that's here, the Live It program I taught. That was community nutrition, so going into schools, helping the kids consume more vegetables, teaching them, that's where the curriculum would come into play, community nutrition. And then T would be pediatric focus for the most part. And then I said, would this work in adults? I think it does because I started pumping my husband with carrots and ranch, and he ate the carrots all day long. So I paired it with a desirable food, and it increased the vegetable intake. The curriculum I haven't tried, or the reward stickers, but we'll see. So most children do not consume enough fruits or vegetables. We talked about that on the first slide, 21%. We also know that diets rich in vegetables protect against chronic diseases. Pairing vegetables with a nutrient-rich food such as peanut butter can increase the consumption. Repeated exposure with rewards can increase the consumption, and this is through just mailed-in instructions, so pretty cheap and easy study. And then education with the gardening activity or program can increase consumption. Here are resources. And again, here is that website, UWGB Research Reviews or .weebly.com. That's where you'll get the information for the slides, and they'll be recording. So if you were curious about the Mediterranean one, you can watch that recording. Thank you. Do you have questions, Lindsay?
So on one of your studies, it talked about numbers of fruits, and I think that was like the mailed-in survey. Did they, like, in the instructions, did they talk about what consists of a vegetable?
Yeah, so